Hello. I hope you and Izzy are doing well today. I am going to make you a little video on top knots and feet. And I will tell you, Newman has been bathed and all fluffed out, so he's ready to go. Top knots are really my weak point. I really struggle with them. You know, a lot of times I will groom the dogs, groom Newman, take him back in the house and realize that everything is kind of off and bring him back here and kind of whittle a little bit more. So I really never get it right the first time. They just, I don't know, I need a private lesson on this. So, but Newman is in a pony trim. I'm growing him out, trying something, I don't know, kind of different. That's the fun of poodles. But, okay, so what I do, and I trimmed his top knot in a hurry before I went to Omaha, which is never a good idea, and I trimmed it way too short, which kind of makes me mad. So I won't be really taking very much off today. But curves are important. These are pretty long. These are, you know, 8-inch curves. These are my 7.5-inch curves, which is what I recommend for you. They're really great, but I don't know, I just like the big ones for Newman. So what I do when I first start is brush all that hair forward, and then I take my curves and set them in at an angle, kind of pointing down to the eye, and just take a little bit off. And of course, you've already shaved his face from the corner of the eye to the corner of the ear. So you kind of have, ooh, wrong side. Well, yeah, no, that's right. So you kind of have that line to go by. But, you know, for their heads, I like a little bit of a beveled look. And that's kind of one of the things that I ruined a little bit the other day. But, you know, I brush it up, and I do this a lot just because it kind of fluffs everything and makes it stand up right for scissoring. So, you know, you just come in and take anything off, and then I go to the side and kind of do, let's see, kind of do the same thing. Where I'm just going to finish this line from the top of his head, right? I'm kind of leaning right on that line, that clipper line, and just kind of taking everything off. So then when he lays his ear back over, you know, it's got kind of a nice line, and then I need to clean up over his ear. So on this side, I'm going to lay that ear back. My shears are at an angle. I'm going to take that hair off. And I'm just kind of neatening up anything that falls over that line, kind of right to the ear. Make sure your ear's laid back so that you don't, you know, catch that. So then once I do that, you know, if it's really long, you can kind of part the hair in the middle and brush their hair over, and if there is hair that hangs over, you can kind of tidy that up as well. So you brush that hair over. And you're just, you know, just take a little bit at a time. You don't have to take a whole bunch, because that's when, you know, big mistakes happen. So you just take a little at a time, and then, you know, I kind of shake their head again. And now this is where I tend to have my biggest problem. And I really have gotten away from using straights or curves, because I tend to, over the ear, I always pinch this, and then it gives them a weird look. So these are my chunkers, and this is what I tend to use. But you can still use your curves or your straight. But I just kind of go over the ear and straight down into the neck. And of course I'm letting all that hair grow out so that the neck can be what any, whatever length you want it to be. But I used to go in like with my curves on an angle, really tight over the ear, and then it would pinch this and just make it look really goofy. So, so I'm just kind of following the line that we did here and just taking a little bit and following it down into his neck. I'll kind of do that on this side. And I'm not really brushing the hair over. I just, I want it to lay natural, because sometimes when you brush the hair too much, then you also get really weird lines. So I want him standing straight. So I'm just kind of over the ear, taking a little bit, and then coming down into his neck. So I'm just kind of tidying up that line. And actually I really kind of like that. So, stop. He knows when I'm making one of these videos and he just acts so goofy. Okay, so if you have a lot of hair up here on the top, and I'm not going to cut this because that's what I whacked off the other day, you can, a lot of times I'll kind of look at him from the front, and I'll just take my shears and just kind of go back and forth, just a little bit at a time, and just kind of round. You don't want to take too much off over the eyes, because you want them to have, I don't know if you can kind of see, you want them to have a little bit of a bevel over their eyes, so I just take a little bit and just kind of whittle my way back and forth. You can see that until you get to the neck, and his looks pretty good. And then I take my chunkers and just kind of follow down into that neckline, and you'll take a lot more hair off than what I'm taking off, just because I'm letting all that grow in. But same thing over here. I can see that it's a little uneven, so I'm just kind of coming down, taking a little bit off. I can see I've left too much hair under his ear, so I'm just going to gently get his ear out of the way. I'm not going to pull it, because then that pulls the skin and you get weird lines again. I'm just holding his ear out of the way and kind of trimming that hair out behind. So I hope you can see. Well, I've got a light out and it's kind of hard to see in here. So you can kind of see he's got a little bit of a bevel right there, and then it just kind of curves down into his neck. So So I hope that kind of makes sense. You bevel the front, connect the dots on the side, all at an angle, everything's beveled. That's why your curves are so important. And then trim over the ears and down into the neckline, and kind of back and forth over the top. So that's how I do it. Okay, so feet. Stop. Newman is just like afraid of everything. It's aggravating. Okay, so for the back of the feet, I always turn him this way, and I've got this on my 40 and against the grain up into that little dip, and then I try to kind of put a finger back behind, like my pinky finger back behind, to try to kind of push his toes apart a little bit. Stop. Well, he's not going to let me do it. But I feel like the more you can get off, or you can use your thumb, kind of the more you can get off from behind up the sides of those toes, the more it helps when you turn them around. And then when you turn them around, then I go up to the 30, and I use these fingers to push, and my thumb to push the toes apart. And so then you're, you know, so I've got these toes pushed apart, and I'm just coming in kind of with this part of my clippers and then the other part, and just kind of back and forth and trimming that hair out, going along the edge of the pad, against the nail, you know, and then you kind of move over to the next one. I know it's kind of hard to see, but you know, I just take it just a little bit of time, and I'm only using really that much of my clipper, so it's kind of like your fur zone. You're just holding it at an angle, and I'm just kind of going, I'm just going back and forth. And then of course the top line is from these two bones across. That's, you know, as high up as you want to go. So, and you can see Newman isn't the best for this. He really doesn't like it very much, and he growls, but he wouldn't, you know, he's not going to bite me or anything. He's just being naughty. And so I just, you know, kind of go back and forth. I really don't clip. I normally wouldn't be clipping his feet. I don't do it any more often than every other week, because I think when they're really short, and then you try to clip them and keep them really short, it drags more on their feet. So I like at least 2 weeks growth on their feet and on their face before I clip. Newman's, you know, I just clipped it last week to go to Omaha, and I won't clip it again today. I kind of like how that looks. So, so that's it. If I didn't answer your question, or if you need a different angle on something, let me know, and I am happy to help you. One other thing I was going to tell you, when you do get your shears, they should come with, hang on, they should come with finger guards to put inside the holes of your shears. Because when you hold them, you lay them in your hand with your thumb and try to just let your thumb do the work. It takes a little bit to get used to, but you don't want to be sticking your thumb, you know, all the way through. It just kind of rests, and that's what those guards help you with, and it'll help you get a much even trim on your dog. And so if your shears, if you buy Kenchi's, they'll come with them, but if you buy something else from Pet Edge and they don't, let me know, and I'll stick a couple of these to you in the mail, because when I get my shears sharpened, he sends me more, and I'll never use them all. That's important. And then it's also important to use some shear oil, and you always want to oil right there at that little screw at the pivot point, to keep them really sharp. If you drop them, a lot of times it'll put them out of alignment, and you do have to get them sharpened. But otherwise, if you take good care of your shears, you know, they'll last you forever. So, all right, have a good day.